I'm Dr. Beck. I got my PhD studying the diets of ancient people, and today I'm sharing my favorite recipes with you on Dr. Beck's Epicurean Delights. Oh, hey there. Welcome to today's episode of Dr. Beck's Epicurean Delights. I know that I haven't been posting regularly for the past few weeks, and I apologize for that. We had some adverse weather conditions that disrupted our plans, and I'm still trying to get things back to normal here in the kitchen. With that having been said, I got a special delight for you today, a treat. This dates all the way back to Valentine's Day and the gift that my wife got me. This is something that I wanted to share with you. It is the box of fish from Zingerman's. Zingerman's is a wonderful business. They have a deli and a bakery out in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and my wife got me this. She made me this cute little fishing pole with a fish on it because she's quite creative and talented. But let's look inside the box. Underneath all of this confetti, we have some tins of fish. We have the anchovy fillets. We got the stuffed calamari. This is my absolute favorite. They take the tentacles of the squid and they stuff them back inside the body, so it ends up being like a little sausage when you slice it. This was one that I wanted to eat immediately, but I've saved it because I want to share it with somebody else, for a special occasion. This is Portuguese sardines. Here is some tuna fish, and then Portuguese mackerel. So we got sardines, anchovies, squid, and tuna. And I thought that I would show you really quickly a wonderful recipe for anchovies. So let me just get these guys out of the way here and put them up there where they're not going to get in the way. And here you got anchovies. Now, anchovies are often, there's not a whole lot of recipes that we eat nowadays that require anchovies. And they're often kind of, thought to be, that gross ingredient on pizza. And that's probably because pizza is a dish of Italian origin, and anchovies are something that is associated with Italian cuisine. Now, there are some things that we eat that do have anchovies in them that you wouldn't necessarily know, like Caesar salad. Caesar dressing traditionally is made with anchovies. But I'm going to show you a recipe for something called Battuto. Now, anchovies are kind of significant or important here because we know that in ancient times, native peoples did eat small fish. They would catch large amounts of small fish and they'd dry them out in the sun and they would eat them as a way to get enough protein, as a way to supplement their diet. And it's still a practice that goes on today. In the Great Basin, we have evidence of people eating something called the tui chub. And when I was trying to figure out ways to update these ancient ingredients, I came up with this recipe. I didn't invent the recipe, but I found it and I used it. I applied it, the technique, as a way to say, hey, we can still eat small fish today. Battutos originate from Italy, and the recipe that I'm using today is one by Funke, and it was actually written up in Tasting Table by Andy Baragani. So what is a Battuto? What is it good for? Well, a Battuto is sort of like the beginnings of a sauce in a lot of Italian cooking. You could think of it as all these vegetables and sausages and meats that have kind of been cooked down into sort of like a paste. And then when you're beginning to make a sauce in Italian cooking, you can throw that in. But there's so many applications for it. You can use it to roast vegetables. You can toss vegetables with it and then roast them in the oven. You can use it as a marinade to marinate meat. You can use it to make Caesar dressing because it has olive oil and the anchovy fillets in there. And one of my favorite is for finishing dishes. So I'm gonna make this today. All you need is a tin of anchovies, a fresh hot pepper. This is a large jalapeno. If you have like a smaller pepper, it might be better. I also have some dried peppers here, some garlic, and a lot of olive oil. The recipe also says salt to taste. I'm gonna try to make it without too much salt. We'll get there in the end. So the first thing you have to do is open up your anchovies, and these are in oil. And we're gonna try to pour out some of that oil with the rest of my oil. Get it all in there. And while we're doing that, pretty much just everything goes in the blender. I'm gonna put in 3 cloves of garlic, a healthy dose of my peppers. Looks like we got just about all of these out of here, all the oil out of here. So I'm gonna try to open this up. Now, anchovies by themselves are usually pretty salty. I've never really encountered an anchovy that I wanted to eat straight. Maybe I'll try one of these, a little bit of this while I have it here. It's very good. That's one of the things I like about the Zingermans is it's some of the best quality that you're going to get. Now it's very salty. It does have those little bones in there, so if you're thrown off by bones, even if they're so soft that you really can't feel them or taste them in your mouth, you might want to look careful about that. Don't want to blend that up. There's a little piece of paper in the bottom of the anchovies, probably to absorb some of the liquid. Okay. Now I'm just going to cut this jalapeno up a little bit. I think a smaller, fresh red pepper might be better in this application, but I'm putting the whole guy in here. Might be a little spicy, but it'll still be great. And I'm going to put half of this olive oil in the blender, or approximately half. Yeah, I did pretty well. It's almost as if I have a cooking show and I know what I'm doing. Where did my lid go? Here it is. Now we're going to blend this until smooth, and it might get a little loud in here. Just put it on smoothie. All right, so it finished. It's probably all blended up, and now it says to whisk in the rest of the olive oil. I used a very nice extra virgin olive oil that my mother gets every year. But if you don't want to wait for your mother to get you a really nice tin of olive oil, you can always just go to the store and find a high quality olive oil. It's best, it says in the recipe, to use a strong tasting olive oil, one that's quite pungent and grassy, which this one is. So it's going to make a really good Battuto. And now it says to whisk the rest in. I don't want to dirty up any more dishes than I absolutely have to. My kitchen is not back to where it was before, and so I still have a lot of dishes to do to get there. So I'm just going to drizzle these in, drizzle the rest in nice and slow. So maybe I'll put this on like a 3. That's probably pretty good. So this isn't a full emulsion, so it'll probably separate on you. That's okay. The flavor's still going to be great. The recipe says to eat it within a week. If you don't think you're going to be able to eat it within a week, you could probably freeze some of it. Because it has so much oil in it, it might not really freeze as much as it'll kind of solidify or harden. So beware of that, and that could also cause it to separate. But if it separates, you know, all you really got to do is get in there with a fork or a spoon and stir it up a little bit. Now that I have this, what am I going to do with it? Well, like I said, it's great for cooking, for marinating, but it's also a really great finishing sauce. And you could just serve it with a plate of crackers and vegetables, which I have back here. It's a little bit loose. Here we go. So it might not be really easy to serve at a party. You can just kind of dip in your vegetable. That's really good. The anchovy is there, it's present, but it's not overpowering. It's nice and spicy in the back. It's delicious. You even get a little hit of the garlic. And if you want to add a little bit of salt, you can add a little bit of salt. I would recommend using a rather fine salt since there's not a whole lot of water in here. It's going to be a little bit hard for that salt to dissolve if you use like a really thick or really large grain salt. Let me try it again with these saltines that I stole from my wife. It's very good. You could probably even use this as a mayonnaise base. That would really make something quite amazing. But it's going to be a rather strongly flavored mayonnaise. It won't be a mayonnaise. It'll just kind of disappear. And here I have some lentils. I can use this to dress up my lentils a little bit. Just drizzle some of this on top. Maybe add a little bit more of these red pepper flakes. And now my lentils have gone from sort of plain and so-so to something that gives you a real flavor wallop in the mouth. Just something real powerful, but in a good way. So that's it. Like I said, the recipe says to use this in a week, so go ahead and do that. If you do have any leftover, or if you think you'll have some leftover, try to save it because that's a lot of olive oil, and it'd be a shame to waste it all. So thanks for checking out this week's episode of Dr. Beck's Epicurean Delights. I'll see you next time.